The association between Brian Connolly and Mick Tucker can be traced back to just prior to their time in the band Wainwright's Gentlemen. Both lived in North London. Mick was a native born in Harlesden. Brian had moved from Hamilton in Scotland to Harefield in Middlesex at the age of 12. His first taste of performing came while still in Scotland, where he would perform country and western songs as a contestant in local talent competitions. Before long, he'd become a regular performer at pubs in the village of Harefield too, and could be relied upon to win first or second prize. At 14, he joined a local group called the So-and-Sos. Sadly, no photographs have survived. Life for young Connolly, or McManus as he was then known, was uneventful during the late 50s. Harefield is much the same today as it was some 50 years ago, a rather picturesque little town with a village green. Brian loved to stand out from the crowd and would often dress up in order to do so. It seems that he had show business running through his veins right from the start. Not many miles away in Harlesden, a lad called Michael Thomas Tucker dreamed of playing in a group as a drummer. Little did he and his soon-to-be friend Brian know that their dreams would come true big time. Just around the corner from Tucker in Kilburn lived a lovable rogue by the name of Frank. He and Mick became friends towards the end of 1962 when Mick began his studies at the Willesden School of Technology. During 1964, guitarist Frank Torpey was playing in a successful outfit called The Tribe. Signed to RCA Records, The Tribe released several singles, the most successful of which was called The Gamaguchi. Torpey and members of his tribe toured Europe and found some recognition in France, where the Gamaguchi record was especially popular. Shortly after the French expedition, Torpey left the band, and while on sabbatical from his musical career, was invited by his old friend Mick Tucker to attend a Wainwright's Gentlemen show at an Air Force base in High Wycombe. Mick was by now their regular drummer. Frank had seen Tucker play many times before, and indeed, while at college, they played in a band together. Now, Mick was to take him to see Wainwright's Gentlemen. They had just acquired a new vocalist called Brian. Sweet Little Lies. There are many versions of the events that led to Brian's discovery of his adopted status, and few left alive from the era to confirm or deny any of them. What is clear is that he had no idea that he was not a natural-born member of the family he had lived amongst for almost 18 years. He had reached an age where passports and birth certificates would be needed to prove his identity, and either he found out from the authorities at this stage or his adopted parents sat him down and told him. Down the years, Brian told several versions of events. Quite understandably, his world was shattered along with his identity. His first reaction was to run away, and so he promptly joined the Merchant Navy. This would have been a grand plan, except that he was colourblind and also suffered from a gastric ulcer at the time. Just months into his seafaring career, he was discharged on medical grounds. During his time away, he refused to talk to any of the McManus clan, and having found out the name of his real mother, changed his name by deed poll to Brian Francis Connolly. Upon returning from the Navy, he set about launching his career and bid for stardom. He wasn't entirely sure at first if that would be via singing or acting. Having had no real training in acting and lots of experience singing country songs, he wisely opted for life as a singer. While at sea, young Brian had learned to drink and smoke with the best of them. However, the combination played havoc with his ulcer. Health-wise, Brian had never been particularly robust. At the age of 2, he had suffered from a bout of infantile meningitis. In 1947, this could easily have turned out to be fatal, and though it could never be proven, this nasty brain infection could have set the seeds for a terrible neurological meltdown in later life. Brian only alluded to his early brush with death on a couple of occasions, once to journalist Rosalind Russell in Disc magazine in 1973. Back in 1965, his luck was about to change as the result of an audition with a semi-professional white soul band called Wainwright's Gentlemen. Following the rift with his adopted family, he was keen to show them that he could make it in the world without them. Though it may have been a common thing for families to hide the truth about adopted children during the 50s and 60s, Brian's reaction was far from uncommon. As far as he was concerned, he had been lied to and betrayed, not just on the adoption issue, but on everything. It had all been a lie. Just as Francis Connolly had rejected him at birth, he now rejected the McManus family. By day, he worked in a succession of sales jobs, eventually settling in at Vickmons of Uxbridge. Vickmons sold carpets, and Brian was, by all accounts, rather a good salesman. Musically, although he still loved his old favourites Nat King Cole, Hank Williams and the Everly Brothers, he had also developed a taste for more modern acts like the infamous trouser-splitting P.J. Proby. Proby was to become as famous for his on-stage antics as his recordings. One of the first people Brian noticed when he tried out for Wainwright's Gentlemen was their flamboyant and good-looking drummer, Mick. Though never a great musician, from day one Brian worked out that the people who really make it in the business have a strong individual image, if not a wholehearted gimmick. They also tend to have one other quality. They're ruthless in their pursuit of success. As far as he was concerned, from the moment he discovered the truth about his roots, Brian had, to some degree, become a non-entity. Following the change of name, he was determined that Brian Connolly, as he was now known, would become Brian Somebody. The name